A Look at Seniors is underwritten by the generous support of Hudson Headwaters Health Network, dedicated to provide the best health care and access to that care for everyone in our communities. Serving all of Warren County and parts of Clinton, Essex, Hamilton, Saratoga, and Washington counties. A Look at Seniors is underwritten by the generous support of Retirement Solutions. Our knowledgeable and experienced team will help you explore retirement options for a smooth financial transition toward a secure, comfortable, and worry-free quality of life. Retirement Solutions, providing you with a greater peace of mind when it's needed the most. A Look at Seniors is underwritten by the generous support of the Wesley community. For nearly 45 years, the Wesley community has provided services and programs with a commitment to compassion, caring, and excellence. The Wesley community, a senior living community that feels like home.
Welcome back, everyone. Yes, another segment in A Look at Seniors with my co-host Lois Celeste, who is the Executive Director of Saratoga Senior Center. Hello, Lois.
Hello.
And we have a very special guest today. Lois and I, in setting up the series this year, thought one of the most educational, informative topics that we've covered every year has been Alzheimer's disease. It's a word that just instills fear. I don't care how old you are. You hear the word Alzheimer's or you hear dementia, and I think it's because of lack of control. All of a sudden you realize I'm not going to have control over my life anymore. Well, as you know from watching the series, we're concentrating on caregivers and things that they would like to know and you would want to know. And this topic, of course, is very important. And joining us today is none other than the CEO of the Alzheimer's Association for Northeast New York.
That's right.
Beth, and pronounce your last name for me.
Bovin.
Bovin. It's the French spelling, however,
Yes,
which is why I asked you to
Yes.
take a shot at it. Welcome, Beth. It's really nice. Thank you for
it's
taking
great
the
to
time.
be here. Oh, my pleasure.
I know what I said, and I saw you nod when I said, just the word instills fear
It's true.
in you. Kind of from the 30,000-foot view, Alzheimer's disease, how prevalent is it? From your perspective, how do you see it?
Yeah. So we're beginning to call Alzheimer's disease an epidemic because of the prevalence numbers that we see. And to a large measure, that's because of the population aging. So it's good news, right, that we are aging, that we have a life expectancy much greater than our grandparents did. But that being said, age is the #1 risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. And right now we have 5.8 million Americans affected by Alzheimer's. 400,000 of them live in New York State. And the cost of this disease to the United States economy in 2019 will be, are you ready? $290 billion.
Oh, that's pretty outrageous, right?
It's a big number. Yeah.
Have there been advances? I've read a few things that just suggested to me that there, like any disease, that scientific research there is progress being made.
There is. Absolutely. So I think kind of in two areas largely, there are things that we should be really hopeful about. Number one is we're learning a lot about the impact of a healthy lifestyle in reducing the risk of Alzheimer's. So just like with heart disease or other things, when we say reducing the risk, we're not saying for a moment that we can prevent these diseases, right? How often do we hear about that marathon runner that eats perfectly every day,
Right.
does everything right, and then has a heart attack?
Yeah.
So the same is true with Alzheimer's disease, that we can have folks that do all the right things and still develop this disease. But we have learned that there are many things we can do that reduce risk. We tell people to stay socially active, physically active, emotionally and spiritually active. That's one thing that we can do, and it's one thing that Lois and her team help people to do every single day.
Right.
The other thing that we learned last year is that maintaining a systolic blood pressure of 120 or below helps reduce the risk of developing dementia by 20%, which is
Wow.
a big number. That's 2 out of 10.
Boy, that is a big
Yeah.
number.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then the other thing is that on another level, we have some clinical trials for different medications and treatments that are beginning to yield nice results.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't had a drug go into phase 3 clinical trial in about 15 years. We have one right now. This
Well,
month,
that's-
a site will be selected for a medication that currently goes by its code name of BAN2401, which will go into phase 3 clinical trial.
Well,
exciting.
that's
It is.
hopeful. Lois, you and I have talked about this before. You see so many people here at the Senior Center every day. In many ways, you would be the first line to notice that somebody might be showing signs of a disease like that.
Yeah.
And you do see that here?
We see it a lot, and sometimes it's that people are in denial and they don't want to. They don't want to admit it. We work really hard to keep people socialized as long as we can, and oftentimes many of the people that come into our groups and things will either self-identify of early stages. Again, our resources are right here. This is who we call and talk to or connect with folks. But a lot of times the families don't see it. I mean, if a senior is coming in here every day and this is their active place to be, exercise classes, whatever they're doing, sometimes their family don't. It's a little eye-opening when we might have to call the emergency contact and say we're concerned, or try to talk to that person and say we're concerned. So, yeah, we try really hard to keep them connected, socialization, as well as some light support systems, respite, friendly visitors in their home if they're trying to age in place.
I imagine that caregivers would be very interested in this, and I'm sure we can all relate to this. I lost my keys. Oh, there's that president what was that president's name?
Right.
And in the back of your mind, as you get older, you're thinking to yourself, why can't I remember that? There is a difference, though, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah.
There is, and we want people to be aware of changes in memory, but we don't want people to overreact to it. That's why we're so grateful to Lois and groups like Lois's group that will send folks to us, because then we can go through a couple of things with people. First of all, when we do see Alzheimer's disease or dementia, there's more than just memory as a warning sign. So we have 10 warning signs for Alzheimer's disease, and typically what we do is we walk through some of those warning signs with these families that come to us from our local referral sources. The second thing is that the memory that is tied to Alzheimer's disease is a very specific type of memory in that it can't be cued back. So,
that's an important phrase.
Yeah.
That's very important. I get it.
So when
Explain
I say to people all the time, I speak to seniors groups and I say, you know what, I'll go downstairs where I have a pantry to get a jar of tomatoes. I'm making sauce. I go downstairs, right, I forget what I went down there for. And then you go back upstairs, I see the pot of sauce and I say, tomatoes, 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 and I walk down the stairs saying it so that I don't forget. But my memory was cued back, and that's the difference. We're all going to have those little slips. We're all going to misplace our keys, but when our memory is quickly cued back, we're probably okay. That, combined with not having the other warning signs, means we're okay. If we have the warning signs and we don't have cueable memory, then we really need to talk to our doctor.
That is such a valuable distinction there. So I just, as an aside, so it's okay to wake my wife up in the middle of the night and say, President Carter.
Yes, that is right.
Okay.
That's exactly how it happens. It's something cued back. Yes, that's right.
So we can continue to do that,
Yes.
which is important.
Sorry, your wife.
Yeah, for any number of reasons, by the way. Don't you say anything. That whole idea that if you are living with somebody and you might suspect it, that's a wonderful way to sort of frame that, right?
Yeah.
I know. Now, would you see that here?
Sure. I mean, we see couples coming in. We do a lot more. Again, this is my resource. I have an advocate here. If there's any concerns with folks coming into here, we will refer to the advocate. The advocate will go to the resources. But we do other things, like we have a reminiscing group, we have a chit chat group, we have an Alzheimer's caregiver support group here, we have a music and nostalgia group, and there's a difference between what brings you back and those concerns. So we see all of that, and again, what we're focusing on is the programming and the socialization, but filling gaps again. So what can we do to help people age in place, and the caregiving and doing those kind of things, training people in these educational programs in here. That's what you're going to get at the senior center, and a really great connection to the right resources.
I've got it. I do want to cycle back on, you were saying before, to stay active. And that just doesn't mean take a walk, although that's important.
Sure.
But I want to go back on emotional. I want to go back on spiritual. If you're lonely, if you're isolated, if you get lost in your own world,
That's right.
These are not healthy.
No, they're not. Depression is one of the risk factors for developing Alzheimer's and dementia. So you're absolutely right. It's all connected, and we love when people utilize the services at their local senior centers because it's so important, and it's an opportunity in one stop to be physically active, socially active, spiritually active. So they're all terrific things. I mean, they offer a myriad of things here. Everything from exercise to art to the groups that Lois already described. I mean, you can get it all in one shop.
Well, you know, you hear something like, we're in the senior center here a lot, the laughter.
Yeah.
Alone, just laughter as a medicine.
Absolutely.
Right? The camaraderie, sharing a memory and whatever. These are the things that keep you active. So I think the takeaway really for our audience is to say, you know, if you're worried about yourself, if you're worried about a significant other, your parents, something like that, keep in mind about watching for the signs. Cued memory, I think, is a very important thing you said, Beth. That was terrific. And the other thing is stay active.
Right.
You know, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Stay active so that, you know, you have the best shot at it.
That's right.
Oh, one real strange aside, I just have to ask you real quickly. People have said things to us about sleep aids. Do they play a part in Alzheimer's or dementia? Is there any science on that yet?
So they can. There are various medications that can create confusion and that cause cognitive losses. And unfortunately, many of the sleep aids fall into that class of medication. So the class broadly are benzodiazepines, and there's a lot of medications. So the medications we take to relax, the medications we take to sleep. A lot of times you'll look at the very first warning sign for side effect, and it'll be confusion, memory loss, disorientation. And then sure enough, that can linger and last.
Over time, I've got it.
So things like the natural remedies, utilizing some of the quiet techniques and the environmental changes you can do at home, right? The sound of running water, you know, that they have fountains now, they have apps that you can put on your phone, they have sound machines, white noise machines, all really valuable. And there are supplements and other things that we can use that are born in nature.
More like a melatonin
better.
or something like that, right?
Exactly.
All right, well, you've got a lot of information there. Again, you're a caregiver, you're concerned yourself or whatever. Watch for cued memory signs. Stay active. Probably stay away from sleep aids if the warning label says confusion. Well, it seems like a no-brainer to me, right? I mean, what do you need to know at that point, you know? Beth, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
For coming
Thanks
in
for
and
having me.
on all the good work that your organization
Thanks.
does. It's
Thank
terrific.
you. And
And
same to
Thanks,
you.
Lois. Yes.
And remember, if you are worried about this, reach out to the resources that exist.
Just like any
in your
ailment.
community,
That's right.
stop in and
Sure.
see us. We'll get you connected. Call these guys.
And we appreciate that. Thank you.
Good, terrific. See this interview again. You can head to our website, looktvonline.com.
A Look at Seniors is underwritten by the generous support of Hudson Headwaters Health Network, dedicated to provide the best health care and access to that care for everyone in our communities. Serving all of Warren County and parts of Clinton, Essex, Hamilton, Saratoga, and Washington counties. A Look at Seniors is underwritten by the generous support of Retirement Solutions. Our knowledgeable and experienced team will help you explore retirement options for a smooth financial transition toward a secure, comfortable, and worry-free quality of life. Retirement Solutions, providing you with a greater peace of mind when it's needed the most. A Look at Seniors is underwritten by the generous support of the Wesley community. For nearly 45 years, the Wesley community has provided services and programs with a commitment to compassion, caring, and excellence. The Wesley community, a senior living community that feels like home.